وصحبه أجمعين. Our talk today is about how to graph y equals a times sine bx minus c. Now a, as we mentioned in the previous lecture, will determine the amplitude because the amplitude is absolute value of a. B, the coefficient of x, will determine the period. Okay, so to find the period, you divide 2 pi over b, where b is the coefficient of x. Now what about c? Well, c is a horizontal translation. If you remember, c is a horizontal translation, a horizontal shift. So it will take the graph to the right or to the left, depends whether this is a minus or plus. Okay, c is positive or c is negative. So if c over b is negative, we will go to the left because this would be plus, because there is a minus sign already. And if c over b is positive, we will go to the right. Anyway, what is the starting point? The starting value of x, c over b. This is x1. This is x1. So how to find x1? You solve this for 0. You put immediately bx minus c equals 0. So this is the starting point, x1. This is the starting point, x1c over b. And it doesn't have to be 0 in this case because there is a horizontal shift. So it could be something to the right of 0, something to the left of 0, and you continue as usual. You find period over 4, you add period over 4 to each x, and then you find the y values, and then you graph sine x. Let us, bismillah, have a question. Determine the amplitude, the period, and the phase shift. What is the phase shift? The phase shift is c over b. The number c over b is called the phase shift. So phase shift, translation to the right or to the left or right. So what is the amplitude? Amplitude, absolute value of 4, which is 4 because this is a. Okay, how to find the period? The period 2 pi over, what is b? This is b, 2. So 2 pi over 2. So the period is pi. Okay. I will need also period over 4. But let us immediately find x1. So how to find x1? I will solve. I will write 2x minus 2 pi over 3. I'll put it equal to 0. So you take everything here inside the sign. They call it the argument of sign. And you put it equal to 0 and you solve this equation. But please solve carefully, take care. Take 2 pi over 3 to the other side, then divide by 2. Divide 2 pi over 3 by 2 in the calculator. Do it like this, write it like this in the calculator, and the answer, you will find that x is pi over 3. So if you divide 2 pi over 3 over 2, you get pi over 3. So this is x1. And this is also the phase shift. So the phase shift is pi over 3 units to the right. Why to the right? Because it's positive. So I will start my graph from pi over 3. All right. Now I will make a table for the x values. What is the first value? Pi over 3. The phase shift. This is x1. All right. How to find x2? I add period over 4. So I need period over 4. So let me find period over 4. Pi is the period. When you divide by 4, you get pi over 4. So I need to add pi over 4 to each x here. So I take the calculator and add pi over 4 plus pi over 3. Okay, you use the calculator, the answer would be 7 pi over 12. Then because 1 over 3 plus 1 over 4 would be 7 over 12. Okay, we need to add another 1 over 4, pi over 4, or you can say 3 over 12. 1 over 4 is 3 over 12. So it would be 10 over 12, or if you want to simplify it and write it 5 over 6, it's okay. And then you add another 3 over 12, so 13 pi over 12. You can do that by the calculator. I know it is not, you don't like these fractions. Plus 3 over 12, so 16 pi over 12. And 16 pi over 12, you can write it if you divide by 4, 4 pi over 3. Please check your answer now. How to check your answer? If you subtract 4 pi over 3 minus pi over 3, the last x with the first x, if you subtract, you get 3 pi over 3, which is pi. You should get the period, which is pi. That's correct. So now you know that these numbers are correct. Okay, you did not do any mistake here. Good. Now, how to find the y values? Please use the calculator. How? You put everything for sine 2 and you replace x by pi over 3. Okay, and ask the calculator to give you the answer. But we know the answer. What is the answer? We have 0 here, here, and here. But when you use the calculator, the advantage, and you will know that these numbers are correct. So you should get 0, 0, 0. So if, for example, you replace x by 10 pi over 12, and you do not get 0, this means there is a mistake. You have done mistake somewhere. So you review your answer. Here I should have a maximum, and the maximum is 4. And here I should have a minimum, and the minimum is negative 4. And now you can sketch the graph of this function. So simply the same steps we did last time. Let us now sketch the graph of this function. We will start from pi over 3. So we are not going to start from 0. What is our unit of measure? Okay, what is the increment? Your unit of measure is always period over 4 because you are adding period over 4. So if this is pi over 3, pi over 3 is greater than pi over 4. So pi over 4 would be less than that. So this is pi over 4, another pi over 4, another pi over 4, another pi over 4. So this is 7 pi over 12, and this is 10 over 12, or 5 pi over 6, and this is 13 pi over 12, and this is 4 pi over 3. And I need 4 and negative 4. So here I have 0 in the beginning, at the end, at the middle, I have 3 zeros for sine, and maximum in the second, minimum in the fourth, and you just connect these points together, and this is the graph of the function. Please do this one at home. Step by step, you will be able to graph one period. This is one period, by the way, only pi, one period. He asked about one period. You can also do this at home, please. Okay, do it, try. And I will leave this also for you. Or let us do this one. Let us do this one. What is the amplitude? Absolute value of half, which is half. What is the period? 2 pi over 1. Oh, good. So the period is 2 pi. Okay. What is the phase shift? To find the phase shift, I have to solve this for 0. So x plus pi over 2, you put it 0. Then x is negative pi over 2. So this is x1. And the phase shift is pi over 2 units left. You say pi over 2 to the left. The minus means you are going to the left. Okay. Now let us find the table, the 5 key points. The 5 key points. The first one is negative pi over 2, which is this one. And now I need period over 4. So period over 4. Period is 2 pi over 4. That's pi over 2. Okay, so I need to add pi over 2. Pi over 2 plus negative pi over 2, 0. Plus pi over 2, pi over 2. Plus pi over 2, pi. Plus pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. Do we have 5? Yes. Check. Find 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2, which is the first one. So 3 pi plus 4 pi over 2, which is 2 pi, and this is the period. So that's good. I did not do any mistake here. Now, what about the y? Use the calculator to find the y values, or this is sine. So I have here 0, here 0, here 0. Here maximum, the maximum is half. Here minimum, the minimum is negative half. And I sketch the graph of this function. Let us do it. Now, pay attention. I'm going to start from negative pi over 2. What is my unit of measure? Pi over 2. So negative pi over 2, this is the beginning, then 0, then pi over 2, then 3 pi over 2. There is pi. Still pi here, then 3 pi over 2. Okay, 5 key points. Here we have 0, here 0, the middle, and here beginning and middle. Here maximum, and maximum is half. Well, minimum is negative half. So the maximum is half, the minimum is negative half, and we connect these points together, and this is the graph of this function. Please try this one, and don't forget that the minus will just switch the maximum and the minimum. Okay, let us do this one. 29. What is the amplitude? Absolute value of negative 2, which is 2. What is the period? 2 pi over 2 pi. So the period is 1. Okay. What is the phase shift? Put 2 pi x plus 4 pi equals to 0 and solve it. So you take 4 pi to the other side. If you do a mistake here, all your work would be not correct. So please pay attention. Do it. Do it carefully. So negative 4 pi over 2 pi, pi cancels with pi, and I have negative 2. So x1 is negative 2. I will start from negative 2, and the phase shift 2 units to the left. All right. Now let us do the table, the 5 key points, x and y. x1 is negative 2. I need period over 4. This is period. The period is 1. So period over 4 is 1 over 4. This is my unit of measure. Okay. So I will add 1 over 4. This is negative 8 over 4. So if you add 1 over 4, you have negative 7 over 4. Another 1 over 4, negative 6 over 4. Another 1 over 4, negative 5 over 4. Another 1 over 4, negative 4 over 4, or negative 1. Now check your answer. Minus 1, minus 2, would be minus 1 plus 2 would be 1, and 1 is the period. So your answer is correct. The values are good. Now what about y? This is sine x, so there is 0, 0, 0. Now here I should have a maximum usually, but there is a minus sign. So I will have a minimum. And here I will have a maximum. That's it. And now we can graph this function. Oh, we will start from -2 to -1. So we don't put the y-axis here. I put it here because I will work with the negative x-axis. Okay, pay attention now. The period over 4 is 1 over 4. So my unit of measure and my increment is 1 over 4. But I have to start from -1 to -2. So this is -1 over 4, -2 over 4, -3 over 4. This is -1, -5 over 4, -3 over 2, -7 over 4, and here is -2. Now, here, beginning, end, mid, I have zeros. Here at the second one, I should have a maximum usually, but there is a minus sign, so I will have minimum. Here in the fourth key point, I will have maximum, and you connect these 5 key points, and this would be the graph of this function. Good. Now, let us do the same with cosine x. The only difference between cosine and sine is the main graph of cosine. If you start by cosine and use the same points we used from 0 to 2 pi, and use your calculator if you like to find these values. Now, if you sketch the graph of cosine, you will find that this is the graph of cosine. From 0 to 2 pi, the graph is like this. Why? Because cosine 0 is 1. It is not like sine. Sine 0 is 0. So sine starts from here, but cosine at 0 is 1. So also cosine 2 pi is 1. So this is the graph of cosine inside the period, the first period, which is 2 pi. So look carefully to this graph. We don't have 3 x-intercepts here. We have 2 x-intercepts. And where are these? The second key point and the fourth key point. While the first key point and the last key point, we have a maximum. And at the middle key point, we have a minimum. Okay, so you need only to concentrate about this for cosine. Of course, the domain is again from -infinity to infinity, and the range is from -1 to 1, like the sine. And the period is 2 pi. But here the function is not odd. The function is even because you can see that the graph is symmetric about the y-axis. That's important. The graph is symmetric about the y-axis. So cosine -x is equal to cosine x, while sine -x equals negative sine x. This is important because cosine -45 would be equal to cosine 45. Okay, so cosine -x equals cosine x, and the function is even. Put this in your mind, this remark, that cosine x is sine x plus pi over 2. What is the difference between sine and cosine? We, in fact, it's a translation, horizontal translation. If you take the graph of cosine, okay, pi over 2 units to the left, take this graph, pi over 2 units to the left, you will start from here. If you start from here, you will have the graph of sine. This is the graph of sine in one period. So the difference between graph of cosine and the graph of sine is just pi over 2 units to the left. Let us solve these exercises. Fill in blanks. What is the period of cosine? As usual, 2 pi. Cosine graph is an even function. What is between -1 and 1? That's the range. The range for the cosine. True or false? True or false? The graph of cosine is symmetric with respect to the y-axis. True. It is symmetric with respect to the y-axis. The graph of cosine illustrates that the range is from negative infinity to infinity. No, this is false. The range is from negative 1 to 1. What is from negative infinity to infinity? That's the domain. So the domain is from negative infinity to infinity. How would we graph cosine? Like the same way we graphed sine x. The amplitude is the absolute value of A. The period is 2 pi over B. Okay. So what is the amplitude of this function? Absolute value of half, half. What is the period? B is 3, so it's 2 pi over 3. Determine the amplitude and period, then graph this function from negative 4 to 4. Yalla, let us do it. Now, what is the amplitude? Amplitude is absolute value of negative 3, which is 3. The only difference that we have cosine instead of sine. That's the only difference. All the steps are similar. Okay, period. The period is 2 pi over 2. 2 pi over B. And B here is pi over 2. So what is 2 pi over 2? It's 2 pi times 2 over pi. Pi cancels with pi. And the answer is 4. So the period is 4. There is no phase shift. The phase shift is 0. X1 is 0 here. So let us find the x values. I'll start from 0. I need to add period over 4. Remember that period over 4 is 4 over 4 because the period is 4. The answer is 1. So you add 1 to 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, excellent, easy. So now check 4 minus 0 is 4, which is the period. Correct. So what are the y values? Now please use the calculator. Put 0 here and find the answer. Or if you know the graph of cosine, you will know that here and here in the second and the fourth, we have x-intercepts. And the beginning and the end, we should have a maximum. But there is a minus sign. So we will have a minimum, which is negative 3 and negative 3. And in the middle, we will have the maximum, which is 3. Let us sketch the graph of this function. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 5 x coordinates of the key points. All right. At 0, it is negative 3. At 1, it is 0. We have an x-intercept here and here. Here, the beginning and the end, I have a minimum. In the middle, I have a maximum. And the maximum is at 3, and the minimum is negative 3. So the range from negative 3 to 3. Now let's sketch the graph of this function like this, because you will continue. Okay, like you will continue like this up. So this is the graph of this function. This is the graph of cosine negative 3 cosine pi over 2 x, because there is a minus sign. So the graph of cosine, which is this one, reflected about the x-axis, reflected about the x-axis. But just a minute. He said, sketch the graph from negative 4 to 4, not from 0 to 4. All right. So I have to continue to negative 4. Good, easy. I know that the unit of measure is 1, so I will go negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. This is a new period. Okay, a new period starts from here to here. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the 5 key points. Here I have an x-intercept. Here I have an x-intercept. Here and here, the beginning and the end, I have a minimum because this is there is a negative sign, and here I have a maximum. So you continue like this. If you need any help, you can use the calculator. Okay, you can ask the calculator to give you cosine. You put -1 in the calculator, -2, -3, and you find the answer. So this is the graph of this function from -4 to 4, and please do this one. And also I leave this one for you. And let us solve this exercise. What is the amplitude? Absolute value of -½ which is half. What is the period? The period is 2 pi over 3. So it's 2 pi times 3 over pi. So it is 6. Similar to the one I solved. Very similar, okay? So please continue. The period is 6. The phase shift is 0. So x1 starts from 0. Find period over 4. Add, find x values, y values, and sketch one period of this graph. He just said one period. Sketch one period of this graph. Now, how to graph a cosine in general? Exactly the same like sine. This is amplitude, this is the period, this is the phase shift, exactly the same. So let us take one example, and I will do this example, example 6, and I will leave all the other examples for you. Okay, I think we solved a lot of examples, and you will be easily able to solve all of them. So the amplitude is absolute value of half, which is half. Okay, what is the period? The period is 2 pi over 4 because there is a 4. B is 4. So it's pi over 2. So the period is pi over 2. Now let us find the phase shift. So we put 4x plus pi equals to 0. We solve. So we take pi to the other side, divide by 4. So this is the phase shift. So the phase shift, pi over 4 units were left. So x1 is negative pi over 4. We will start the graph from here. And period over 4, because this is would be needed. Where is the period? The period is pi over 2. Pi over 2 divided by 4 would be pi over 2 times 1 over 4. So it would be pi over 8. So pi over 8 is my unit of measure, my increment. Okay, so I will start from where? From negative pi over 4. And I add pi over 8. This is negative 2 pi over 8. If you add pi over 8, you get negative pi over 8. Plus pi over 8, 0. Plus pi over 8, pi over 8. Plus pi over 8, pi over 4. Now you can check your answer. Find pi over 4, the last one, minus pi over 4, the first one. It would be plus, and it would be pi over 2, which is the period. So that's correct. Now, how to find the y values? Just use the calculator. All right. Replace x by negative pi over 4 and write the answer. But for me, and if you understand the graph of cosine, you know that this is cosine. So I have 0 in the second, 0 in the fourth. Maximum at the beginning and the end. What is the maximum here? Half, because there is a positive sign, positive half. So here half and here half. At the middle you have a minimum, which is negative half. And now I can easily sketch the graph. I will start from negative pi over 4. Okay, so maybe we put the y-axis here in the middle. And my unit of measure is pi over 8. So I need negative pi over 8 here, negative pi over 4 here, 0, and pi over 8 and pi over 4. And this is negative half, and this is half. Okay. So I have 0, x-intercept here, x-intercept here. Here I have a minimum, and here I have a maximum. So the graph would be like this. This is the graph of this function. I stop here, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask.